I keep prefacing my remarks about films, these films, with the remembrance of the inspiration for the films. And in the case of In the Heat of the Night, there was a group of filmmakers, a family of filmmakers in America called the Mirisch brothers. And Walter Mirisch was the producer of this film. Mind you, this was really in the depths of the civil rights movement, that he decided that he wanted to make this picture. He asked me if I would read the script. I did, and I found it terrific. Terrific in so many ways that at that time in American history, this picture would be made. And there were some flaws in the script and that had to be corrected. I just felt that certain things were not appropriate in terms of the reality of the times in our country. And they acknowledged what I had to say, and they made certain changes, and I think they're fairly obvious in the film from time to time. So he wanted to make it, and I read the script, and I asked who the other actor was going to be, and I was told, and I thought that would be great. It would give me a great opportunity to work with Rod Steiger and Lee Grant and many of the other fine actors. The picture said some very important things. The kind of man he was not a rarity in America. Certainly in the South it would have been, but it wasn't in Philadelphia. There were detectives and police officers. It wouldn't have been a rarity in New York City. It wouldn't have been a rarity in most of the larger northern cities. But its absence was obvious in most of the country, so that what was happening to him would have been of interest to not just the African American community, but to communities where such a thing would not have happened, and they would have to stretch a little to perceive it having happened or would happen. So it was up to the actors to make it as real as possible so that it would have a broad impact. The director, Norman Jewison, was brilliant, I thought, and still think. So that picture was, again, one of the, I don't know, my whole career was as a result, certainly of some minor contribution of my own, but the vast majority of the contributions were guys in Hollywood who knew that making certain kinds of pictures was not particularly the wisest thing for their careers. And the Mirisch brothers, again, they stepped up to something that would say to the audience they wished to reach that they saw life a little bit like this. They wanted the film to represent that which within themselves that they wanted others to share. Again, that's what looks like all my pictures were pictures like that. But it's true, there were these guys, you know. I would have probably, had I had the opportunity, said to studios, this is what I would like to do, but I didn't have that opportunity. Fortunately, I had some connectedness in something in me appealed to the actor, to the directors and the producers, and something in them appealed to certain material that brought us all together and wove us into that particular happening. The moment of importance was in my apartment in New York City when Walter Mirisch came to discuss the piece after he had sent it to me to read. And I so liked it and told him so. But I said, there is one thing that has to be changed. And he said, what is it? I said, well, the scene builds beautifully and quite understandably to a point where, offended by my asking him personally about his whereabouts, that he slaps me, which was, I suppose, out of his culture and his values, was the proper thing to do. And he was quite emotional about it. He was so offended that he slapped me. And I said to Walter, I said, in my life, whether I'm a detective or not, and I don't care where I am, if such a thing happened to me, the likelihood is I would respond, and my response would be certainly not to absorb it. And he said, what do you mean? I said, well, it would be an instant response. And the response would be in kind. He, out of his rage, because I am doing my work as a detective, and I said to him, I said, where were you on the night that Mr. Endicott was murdered? And he whacks me across the face. And I said to Walter in my apartment in New York, I said, on the instant, he gets whacked across the face. Now that was not a design to be a big social comment. It was designed on the basis of a man's humanity. If it is offended in that way, it's difficult for him not to. So, the production people were a little queasy about that. I said, well, then you have no deal. And I said, if we do it that way, it stays in the picture. And they said, okay, so it worked.